On February 1st, 2025, the unthinkable finally happened. NASCAR and the Race Team Alliance could not come to a new charter agreement, and the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season was canceled. Within a few weeks, though, Adam Stern dropped a Stern bomb that the Race Team Alliance was starting to negotiate with the public investment fund ran by Saudi Arabia about a possible stock car racing series for 2025. The Stern bomb ended up being correct, and by March we were looking at this brand new logo for a brand new series, the SaudiCar Racing League Pro Series. So who are going to be the drivers in this new series? Well, first off, it was going to be the 16 drivers who made the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, but there was one condition. Due to trademark issues, no driver was allowed to use the number that they had competed with in the Cup Series in 2024. That led us to our Cup drivers using these numbers, which range from old family numbers to dirt racing numbers and everything in between. Positions 17 and 18 were given to the Truck Series champion and Ty Majeski and the Xfinity Series champion Justin Allgaier from 2024. With the goal of a 20-car field, there were two provisionals put in place. One of them was the past champions provisional, which went to Kyle Busch, and a past winners provisional for the driver highest in 2024 NASCAR points, who wasn't already qualified via the playoffs. That went to Chris Buescher over Ross Chastain. Now, there were no teams in the sense of race teams like Hendrick Motorsports or Joe Gibbs Racing. They were all manufacturer teams. So the first three were Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford. But SaudiCar did something NASCAR couldn't, and they attracted a fourth manufacturer, which was Dodge. But it didn't stop there. They went and got a fifth manufacturer in Honda, and they were going to have 5 manufacturers for their 20-car series. After it was all said and done, here is how the teams were looking. Team Dodge was going to have Keselowski, Buescher, Martin Truex Jr., and Alex Bowman. Toyota with Tyler Reddick, Ty Gibbs, Denny Hamlin, and Christopher Bell, all drivers already in-house. Chevrolet was going to have Byron, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, and Chase Elliott. Ford with Logano, Blaney, Burton, and Cindric, and Honda was going to have the two lower series champions, Allgaier and Majeski, to go along with Chase Briscoe and Daniel Suarez for our 20-car field. There were going to be 5 races in the inaugural season of the SaudiCar Racing League, the first race coming at Rockingham Speedway, which they worked really hard to get ready in time. The second race taking place at Indianapolis in the new Indianapolis 600, 100 more miles than what IndyCar ran. Then they moved over to Pocono for the Pocono 500. The penultimate race would take place at Homestead-Miami Speedway, but the finale would come at the abandoned Chicagoland Speedway that the Saudis purchased from NASCAR for the Chicagoland 400. With the new series came a new points format that was only going to reward points for the top 10 finishers. The winner would get 20 points, second place 5 less at 15, and then it would go down in 2-point incrementals until 8th, where it would go 3, 2, and 1 point for finishing inside the top 10. Kyle Larson in the number 57 won the pole for the inaugural race of the series. Brad Keselowski joined him on the front row, Suarez, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Busch inside the top 5, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Harrison Burton, and Austin Cindric rounded out our fast 10. Larson took the green flag, but there was action early as Suarez jumped Keselowski going into turn 1 to make the pass for second. By the time we got to turn 3, it was Suarez battling Larson, and he took the lead coming out of turn 4 on his way to lead the first lap in SaudiCar Racing League history. A few laps later, while battling Brad Keselowski for 5th, Joey Logano got into the wall coming out of turn 4, almost collecting Chase Elliott and losing a ton of spots on the front straightaway. A few laps later, it was Ryan Blaney battling Kyle Busch for a spot inside the top 3. He made that pass, and coming out of turn 4, Busch kissed the wall, losing another spot to Keselowski. Here's a replay of what happened in the back of the field between Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs racing for dead last. Hamlin kept going, and the race stayed green. As we took lap 12, it was Larson looking back on the inside of Suarez for the lead, and Ryan Blaney was stalking in 3rd place. Going down the back straightaway, Larson made the pass for the lead, and into turn 3, Ryan Blaney followed him through. Keselowski also jumped on the opportunity, knocking Suarez out of the top 3 completely as we took lap 13. On lap 15, it was Blaney under attack this time as Keselowski was looking for 2nd place heading into turn 1. Keselowski edged ahead outside of turn 2, but they battled down the back straightaway until Keselowski took it for himself going into turn number 3. On lap 17, it was Suarez who wanted a spot back inside the top 3. He passed Blaney going into the 3rd turn. Buescher and Chase Elliott both followed him shortly thereafter. We were just past the halfway point, and it was Truck Series champion Ty Majeski looking for a spot in the top 5 as he battled Ryan Blaney, ultimately passing him coming off of turn 4. But with just 16 laps to go, things got exciting up front as Keselowski tracked down Kyle Larson and the two cars were battling for the lead. They were side by side down the back straightaway, but Keselowski took the lead going into turn 3. A few laps later, while battling Chase Briscoe and Justin Allgaier inside of the top 10, Kyle Busch kissed the wall coming out of turn 4. With just under 10 laps to go, it was Ty Majeski falling out of the top 5 as a late charging Tyler Reddick made the pass on him on lap 34. Keselowski was cruising to the victory with 5 laps to go when Kyle Busch hit the wall coming out of turn 4, collecting William Byron, causing our first caution of the race. With the no green-white checkered rule, we were going to go back green with just 1 lap left to race, and it was going to be a battle between Keselowski and Larson, the 2 fastest cars all day. Larson took a peek coming off of turn 2 and rode his bumper down the back straightaway, but ultimately had nothing for the 29 as Brad Keselowski would win the first race in SaudiCar Racing League history. Something overlooked at the end during the battle was that Justin Allgaier, who was running in the points in 9th, pit in the last corner, giving up some points and finishing at the end of the lead lap. With that win for Dodge, Brad Keselowski was the points leader after our first race. A Chevrolet and Kyle Larson was in 2nd, a Honda and Daniel Suarez in 3rd, Chase Elliott in 4th, Toyota of Tyler Reddick in 5th, and a Ford and Ryan Blaney in 6th, though all 5 manufacturers in the top 6 in points. Briscoe, Majeski, Chris Buescher, and Martin Truex Jr. were the low point scorers, getting Honda and Dodge with 3 of 4 drivers in the points after the inaugural race. For the second race at Indianapolis, Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch shared the front row, with Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin close behind. The third row was William Byron and Chase Briscoe, followed by Austin Cindric and Joey Logano. The fifth row was Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell, and those were the drivers who made up our Fast 10. Ryan Blaney held the lead out of turn 1, but Kyle Busch washed up the track, allowing Kyle Larson to take the bottom lane. He'd pass Kyle Busch, and his Chevrolet teammate William Byron in the 48 would follow him through. Down the back straightaway, Busch and Byron fought for third, with Kyle Busch ultimately taking it back going into turn number 3. It was Larson in the 57 diving below the 10 car going into turn 3, making a move for the lead. He'd pull it off in turn 4 with Kyle Busch following him on the inside. Blaney would start to fight with Byron for third position. Heading into turn number 1, it was Kyle Busch jumping on the inside of Kyle Larson looking for the lead, with Blaney close by sniffing around. Larson would fall to third as Blaney would take second from him, and William Byron was fighting with Austin Cindric, who made a big move on the inside of Larson but got tagged. This sent the 99 car flipping on the back straightaway with a massive crash behind them, with most of the field getting involved. Larson would take some pretty heavy damage in this crash, as well as our points leader Brad Keselowski in the 29 Dodge. For the restart on lap 7, it was Kyle Busch in the 51, followed by Ryan Blaney in the 10, and Harrison Burton had moved his way up to third after dodging that accident. Justin Allgaier made pretty quick work of a damaged 57 car for fourth, but heading into turn number 2, the 20 car of Chase Briscoe made things 3 wide, and Kyle Larson hit the wall again after making contact with Denny Hamlin. Meanwhile, heading into turn 3, Harrison Burton was looking on the inside of Ryan Blaney and made contact with him, which made Ryan Blaney run up the track and ultimately hit the wall. Justin Allgaier narrowly avoided the 10 as he came back across the track. The next lap, Allgaier was looking to go through on Blaney in turn 3, and he also tagged Blaney, making Blaney run up the track and hit the wall, with Allgaier making a huge save on the back straightaway. Hamlin and Reddick would follow Allgaier through, passing Blaney, and Briscoe would start fighting him. Meanwhile, down the front straightaway to take lap 12, Harrison Burton looked to the inside of Kyle Busch in the 51. Harrison Burton would pull off the pass going into turn 1, and he was only 4 laps away from winning his first SCRL race. But Busch would track him down the back straightaway, and going into turn 3, he made a move to retake the lead. The 31 ran up the track and kissed the wall a little bit, and Kyle Busch ran through for the lead as Allgaier started battling Burton for second. The 7 car would ultimately pass the 31 going into turn 1, and Denny Hamlin in the 23 would follow him through. On lap 14, last week's runner-up Kyle Larson, who was in position to capitalize on Keselowski being out of the race, fell to the points after getting passed by his Chevrolet teammate William Byron. On the last lap, Tyler Reddick took 5th place from Chase Briscoe, and going into turn number 2, Ryan Blaney followed him through, getting himself a couple extra points. Hamlin made a late race charge after passing Allgaier for 2nd, but ultimately it was Kyle Busch in the 51 who would hold on to win the Indianapolis 600, the guy who entered as a provisional. Busch, Hamlin, Allgaier, Harrison Burton, and Tyler Reddick were the top 5. Blaney with that late race pass on Chase Briscoe got 2 extra points. Byron, Elliott, and Bell were the low point scorers in this one. Still early, but after 2 races we had a tie for the points lead with Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch both at 20. Tyler Reddick was 2 points back in a Toyota at 18. Kyle Larson at 15, tied with Denny Hamlin. Ryan Blaney at 14th, and then 3 guys at unlucky number 13, Justin Allgaier and Daniel Suarez, a Honda duo, and then Chase Elliott. Harrison Burton got himself into the top 10 with his 4th place run today at Indianapolis. For the 3rd race at Pocono, neither of the drivers tied for the points lead were in the Fast 10. The front row consisted of Ty Gibbs and Justin Allgaier, a Toyota and a Honda. Ty Majeski and Austin Cindric both with great qualifying runs coming in on the 2nd row. Chris Buescher, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Harrison Burton, and Daniel Suarez were the rest of the top 10. Ty Gibbs led everyone into turn 1 off of a pretty civil start, but it was Austin Cindric battling Ty Majeski for 3rd coming out of turn number 1. Cindric squeezed Majeski, who squeezed Allgaier, who hit the wall, and there was a huge crash right at the front of the field right off the start of the race. See at the end, Tyler Reddick with nowhere to go clobbering Austin Cindric in the 99. Here's his on board. With concerns of fuel mileage going into this one, a bunch of drivers pit on the end of lap 3, some of them to fix damage, but other drivers just with gas and goes. Harrison Burton in the 31 would ultimately win the race off of pit road, with Truex, Blaney, Suarez, Busch, and Keselowski all taking gas only. The restart on lap 6 was pretty civil, but it was William Byron making a move on Chris Buescher for 2nd going into turn number 1. While those guys were battling for 2nd, Tyler Reddick and Justin Allgaier smoked the wall, collecting Chase Elliott in the back of the pack, but there was no caution as the officials thought there was enough time to keep things moving. But heading into turn 3, it was William Byron who had passed Chris Buescher, making a move on Ty Gibbs for the lead, with his Chevrolet teammate Kyle Larson waiting to see what happened. Byron took the lead, but it was Kyle Larson making a move on Ty Gibbs for 2nd as we headed into turn number 1. Kyle Larson carried a great run all the way into turn 2 where he made a move on Byron to take the lead. Right as he completed the pass, as Alex Bowman was running 4th battling Ryan Blaney, he got in the wall collecting Blaney, and they got a bunch of guys in trouble, causing a caution. With the 2 championship leaders, Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski, just sneaking by on the inside past the spinning Harrison Burton and Joey Logano. But even during the lockout, we still had an example of ARCA breaks as Chase Elliott and Austin Cindric came flying into the wreckage, with Cindric tagging Joey Logano in the 0-2. Kyle Larson had control of the restart, but down the back straightaway going into turn 2, it was Ty Gibbs making a move to retake the lead. He made the pass, and using the straightaway to his advantage, Kyle Busch also passed Larson, dropping him back to 3rd. While the leaders were fighting, Keselowski had a close call as him and Christopher Bell tangled while he was running 8th, narrowly saving it on the straightaway. On lap 14 heading into turn 1, Chase Briscoe passed Kyle Busch for 3rd, while Denny Hamlin and William Byron fought for 5th. Briscoe wasn't done there as he used his momentum to attack Larson for 2nd going into turn number 2. And on the exit of the corner, Larson hit the wall, giving the position to Briscoe and letting Hamlin follow through, while Kyle Busch was stuck behind the 57 who was slow. That was all the opportunity Hamlin needed as he passed Briscoe for 2nd going into the next corner. Fast forward a few laps later to lap 17, and Briscoe retook 2nd place from Hamlin going into turn number 2, and Kyle Larson took the momentum and followed him through. But remember how I was talking about a fuel mileage race earlier? Well, Hamlin wasn't one of the guys who stopped, and he peeled off with 3 laps to go to get some more fuel. The next time around, 3 of our top 6, including Chase Briscoe, who was running 2nd, came into pit as they also needed to get fuel. During the pit stop carnage, Kyle Busch had passed Kyle Larson for 2nd, but no one had anything for Ty Gibbs as he was cruising to his first SaudiCar Racing League victory. Gibbs would become the youngest winner in series history with this historic win at Pocono. Gibbs just had enough fuel, as on the cooldown lap he was driving through the grass trying to get back to pit road after he had ran out of fuel on the cooldown lap. Gibbs, Busch, and Larson were the top three, Christopher Bell with a great run in the 71 car to get 11 points, Alex Bowman rounding out our top 5, Keselowski, Blaney, Chase Elliott, Justin Allgaier, and Ty Majeski, the two champions of the lower series, all inside the top 10. And with that, Brad Keselowski not only lost the points lead to Kyle Busch, he also got passed by Kyle Larson, who was now 1 point ahead at 28. Ty Gibbs with his win moved himself into the top 5, Ryan Blaney was 1 point ahead of Tyler Reddick for 5th, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Justin Allgaier, and Daniel Suarez rounded out the top 10. The top 2 in points both started on the front row in Homestead, but it was Kyle Larson on the pole with championship leader Kyle Busch to his outside. Third in points, Brad Keselowski started on the second row with Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, Justin Allgaier, Austin Cindric, Tyler Reddick, and Chase Briscoe were the fast 10. Larson held the lead going into turn 1, but while battling Kyle Busch sent him out of the groove, which opened up the bottom for Ryan Blaney to battle Larson for the lead. Blaney would be side by side with Larson while they were 4 wide for second going down the back straightaway. Coming out of turn 4, Keselowski made contact with Alex Bowman and went into the wall, with Kyle Busch getting stuck with him, 2 of our top 3 in the championship taking damage. In the commotion, the 71 of Christopher Bell would tag the 99 of Austin Cindric, having the 99 bring out a caution for the 3rd week in a row. Martin Truex Jr. in the 78 had nowhere to go as he clobbered the 99 of Cindric, ending his day. Despite already taking some wall damage, Kyle Busch narrowly snuck by this one, as 3rd in points Brad Keselowski took some damage hitting the number 99. Ryan Blaney got a great jump on the restart, but it was 2nd place Joey Logano who had moved up in all the carnage, getting passed by Larson for 2nd place, with Tyler Reddick waiting in the wings. Reddick would pass him out of turn 4, and that's when Suarez and Allgaier started battling Logano for 4th. Suarez ran up the track, getting Logano caught up in the wall. At the same time, Reddick was battling Kyle Larson for 2nd. So much action we had to go to these boxes. Reddick would ultimately end up passing Larson for 2nd. 5 laps later, they swapped positions again, with Larson retaking 2nd place. Bowman capitalized on the loss of momentum for the 8 car and passed him into turn 1, working himself into the top 3. On lap 20, it was a Honda battling a Dodge, as Justin Allgaier took 3rd spot from Bowman heading into turn 1, with Chris Buescher and Harrison Burton hot on his tail. With under 5 laps to go, Kyle Busch made this pass on Ty Majeski, getting himself back into the points, which was really important for his championship battle, as Kyle Larson was running in 2nd. On the last lap, Larson made a great charge at Blaney, but it was all for naught, as we were going to have 4 different winners in 4 different races, with Ryan Blaney winning at Homestead-Miami. Larson finished 2nd for the 2nd time this season, Allgaier with a great top 3 run, Harrison Burton getting a top 5 just behind Chris Buescher, who finished in 4th. Alex Bowman, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Busch rounded out our point scorers. With that 2nd place result, Kyle Larson was our points leader heading into the final race at Chicagoland. He was 4 points up on this week's winner Ryan Blaney, who was 3 points ahead of Kyle Busch, who only scored 1 point. Allgaier was in 4th, and Keselowski lost a couple more spots, moving into 5th. A couple Toyotas with Tyler Reddick in 6th and Ty Gibbs in 7th, Harrison Burton in a solid 8th, Denny Hamlin in 9th, and Chase Elliott rounding out our top 10 at 16 points. With that, we were going to have 6 drivers eligible to win the championship going into Chicagoland. Reddick needed a lot of luck, as he would have to win and hope most drivers didn't score any points. Brad Keselowski and Justin Allgaier were in a pretty similar situation where they needed to outrun people by a couple positions. However, Larson, Blaney, and Kyle Busch were all going to have a great battle for this, as they were only separated by 7 points. All 3 drivers delivered, as they all qualified in the top 3 positions, with Kyle Busch taking the pole from Kyle Larson. Ryan Blaney was on the 2nd row with Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, Harrison Burton, Christopher Bell, Austin Cindric, Ty Gibbs, and Joey Logano made up our fast 10. The other 2 championship hopefuls were going to be starting a little deeper in the field, with Tyler Reddick qualifying 11th on row 6 and Justin Allgaier in 15th on row 8. Kyle Busch led us to the green on a cloudy day at Chicagoland. While battling Blaney for 2nd, Larson got loose and bobbled up on the top lane, allowing other guys like Chris Buescher and Christopher Bell to attack him and letting Blaney and Busch run away with the lead. Bell and Larson battled for most of the 2nd lap before Christopher took the 4th spot heading into turn number 3, dropping Larson down to 3rd in points. Blaney, who was 2 points behind Busch and needed to pass him if he wanted to win the championship, was under attack by Chris Buescher for the second position, but he held him off on lap 7. He wasn't as lucky 5 laps later on lap 12 as Buescher went to the inside of him going to turn 3, but while they were battling, they opened up the door for Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson, who desperately needed to pass these guys to get some more points. Buescher would complete the pass in turn 3, and Larson got back on the inside of Blaney but got a little bit loose, and Blaney held on to 3rd for now. Meanwhile, heading into turn 1 on the next lap, Ty Gibbs looked at making it 3 wide for 4th with Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell both on top of him. Bell would get loose and drop back, but going into turn number 3, Ty Gibbs made a move on passing Kyle Larson for 4th. He also got loose on the inside, and Larson held on to 4th place. They ran single file for the middle part of the race, but with 2 laps to go, Buescher and Blaney were both closing on Busch, and Larson was closing on Blaney. Blaney, who desperately needed to make something happen as he was running 3rd in points, looked on the inside of Chris Buescher heading into turn number 3. He was ahead of him for a brief moment before he also got loose and let Buescher get back around him. The 10 getting loose provided a window of opportunity for Larson, who was 2 points behind Busch, but he couldn't capitalize on it as Ty Gibbs ran to his inside and started battling him for 4th. You could put a blanket over these championship contenders as they battled, with Gibbs and Burton started joining the conversation on the inside of Larson. On the back straightaway, Larson was caught up battling Gibbs and didn't have anything to pass Blaney going into turn number 3. But it was going to be Kyle Busch coming out of turn 4 who was going to be the winner and the inaugural champion of the SaudiCar Racing League, the only driver with multiple wins. Busch, Buescher, and Blaney, the season of the Bees, all inside the top 3, with Larson coming in 4th and Ty Gibbs rounding out the top 5. Harrison Burton with another solid point stay coming in 6th, Briscoe in 7th, Bell in 8th, Justin Allgaier in 9th, and Tyler Reddick, who needed to win, only getting 1 point in 10th. Keselowski was pretty invisible for this entire race and finished down in 14th. With that comes our final point standings, and all 5 of our manufacturers were in the top 6. Busch held on by 2 points over Kyle Larson, who held on by 2 points over Ryan Blaney. 4th through 8th were only 3 points apart, as Justin Allgaier, the highest Honda in points, finished with 30. Ty Gibbs, the top Toyota, won behind him at 29, and Chris Buescher, the top Dodge, won behind him at 28. His teammate Keselowski won behind him at 27, who was tied with Harrison Burton, but had the tiebreaker because of his win. Tyler Reddick finished in 9th with 24 points, and Christopher Bell with 18 points to round out our top 10. Denny Hamlin won behind him at 17. Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman tied at 16, Elliott getting the tiebreaker based off of finish. Chase Briscoe in 14th at 15 points. Daniel Suarez in 15th with 13 points. He got all 13 of those points in our first race at Rockingham. And then a huge drop off to Ty Majeski, who had 4, William Byron with 3, Martin Truex Jr. with 1, and then Joey Logano and Austin Cindric not scoring points in any of the 5 races. Cindric, of course, with the 3 wrecks and DNFs. With Larson and Busch, Chevrolet had a huge lead, winning the first manufacturer's title in the SCRL. Toyota was second with 88, Ford with 79, Honda a few points behind them at 72, and Dodge 10 points behind them at 62. Due to the success of the series, NASCAR and the RTA sat down to try to form another charter agreement to make sure that there was racing in 2026, but we don't know if that happened yet, so we'll have to see next year if there was another season of the SaudiCar Racing League. Thank you so much for watching.